Cayce's first big thriller predicted a shift in Earth's axis. The Sleeping Prophet of 1936. Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce transforms consciousness in the depths of hypnotic sleep. In the state of meditation, the Earth will change. The Earth's axis is deflected 16 to 20 degrees. When Italy's Egypt, Turner at that volcano, and Pele of the Caribbean. When the volcano erupts at the same time, we will have 90 days to evacuate the coastline. What does this prophecy really mean? Mainly Mount Etna and Mount Pre. These are famous volcanoes, especially Mount Etna. It just erupted once in May 2023 this year. Another level. These two volcanoes, located at opposite ends of the Earth's volcanic seismic belt, like a pair of seesaws, and with last year, Tangier volcano erupted in the middle of the seesaw. Experts are also increasingly skeptical. This one, it's really possible that the seesaw has something to do with the deflection of the Earth's axis. So if the axis is really deflected 20 degrees, what will the Earth look like? There will be a sea change in Europe. Japan will sink. The Himalayas became the Ark, etc., etc. Edgar Cayce. In the deep meditation of the transformed state of consciousness, then the poles of the Earth will move. Originally cold and subtropical place will become more tropical. Moss and extinct plants will grow. These will be available in 58 years, beginning of the period in 98. Later generations, according to Cayce's description, mapped the fusion scene. First, the African continent. He was divided into three, along the Rift Valley, turned into a deep trench. Israel and Egypt, and the entire eastern coast of the Mediterranean has disappeared. Arabia becomes the isolated islands. And the other side, Western Sahara, will also be filled with seawater. And finally into the Grand Canyon, in the Atlantic Ocean to the west of Africa. The legendary Atlantis will reappear. The whole of Europe became an archipelago. Portugal was spared. Spain becomes an island. France and Switzerland become the small islands. All that's left of Italy is the central mountain range. Corsica and Saturn became a large land. Germany and the Czech Republic became the isolated islands. Entire Eastern Europe and Ukraine are buried under the sea. England and Scotland became 3 islands. Ireland becomes a country that cannot survive. The Nordic countries will also be replaced by 8 islands. The European part of Russia has become tongue-in-cheek. Plus the islands. North America, parts of Canada are submerged, but Greenland will expand. The Great Lakes of North America went wild. South to east, connected to the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean respectively, the entire East Coast. California becomes a sea of islands, but to the west of the North American continent, the legendary Lemnia, there will be a North Island here. In the direction of South America, since the South Pole is no longer where it is now, so Antarctica will become very warm. But no one can see the specific situation. The western side of South America, there will be a huge continent of Lemnia. And then New Zealand became a continent. This is even more recent for scientists. Discovery of New Zealand. The ancient road coincides. In the direction of Asia, Indonesia has become 5 isolated islands. Japan sinks. Eastern China has become a land of water. And the Himalayas. Hengduan Mountain Tianshan. Pamir River. Jazan Plateau turned into Arc of Doom. Iran, Afghanistan, and the mountains of Turkey are another arc. The Asian part of Russia will become very humble. The Bering Sea disappears. The fertile land extended all the way to America. Mongolia is even close to having a navy. I'm not sure what people think of this map. The upheaval that Edgar Cayce mentioned in the language. Somewhere between 58 and 98. Time to start. And in reality, well, scientists have indeed started from the 21st century. Observed a geomagnetic drift that urgently needs to be accelerated. 15 kilometers a year in the 70s and 80s, abruptly increased to 55 kilometers per year. Although the change in the force field and the inclination of the cataclysm, there are differences. But law, national oceans, and a report from the atmospheric administration, it's unsettling. Because the year of the fourth acceleration drift, it happens to be 1998, the axis movement of Edgar Cayce Garden. GE is accelerating its realization, author of Meditation with Half-Night Bells, the Yin I Pass Experiment, The Pursuit of Heavenly I and Dharma I, Empty Yun Zuyan Long Biography of an Old Monk, Little Boy from Brazil, Space Science and Subphysics and Verification of Foley, and the Stars Last Night, Microinterest, Lu Mei, a layman of the Lu family who wrote long works such as Wuxing. Feng Feng's real name is Feng Pied, the prehistoric flood scene in Dingjing. Venus Now. The entry of the extrasolar comet caused an attractive force. Caused the Earth to roll. The North and South poles are reversed. Several so-called uprisings. For details, please refer to Shaolin Yin written by Feng Feng, the image of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. Antimatter 3 texts, but Feng Feng, in his article, may not have distinguished the gold clearly. Star and Nibiru. Some people call it Big Mars, which is very easy to happen. In fact, Nibiru has returned from distant orbit. The Earth orbits the Sun 365 days. Nibiru orbits the Sun in 3,675 years. And every time in history Nibiru, also known as the return of the 12th planet, for the Earth, are extremely catastrophic and devastating. And for now, Nibiru is in orbit close to Venus, known as the Sleeping Prophet, the love of the American prophet, Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce, 1877 to 1945 in his intelligent interpretation. It also predicted the occurrence of GE, and before it happened, the world will experience extreme climate change first. Scientists are currently reporting an important language of Cayce. Earth-stimulated change is being achieved. The speed is faster than ever before. At Maryland-based Silver Springs, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. What is English Geology in Edinburgh, Scotland? Bureau of Investigation researchers, according to their models of the Earth's magnetic field, a warning to the scientific community. The Earth's magnetic field is fundamental to all modern navigation, including guiding aircraft and navigating ships at sea, smartphone Google Maps and other systems. Changes and updates in the Earth's magnetic field will cause errors beyond the acceptable limits for guiding navigation. Why is this happening? Because the liquid core of our planet, the magnetic factory that generates most of the Earth, he's moving faster than expected. The scientific journal Nature NH 5651-3144-019 announced. In the mid-1990s, his magnetic field is moving faster, from 9.3 miles per hour per year, 15 kilometers per hour to about 34 miles per hour, 55 kilometers per hour per year. By 2001, he had entered the Arctic Ocean, of which since 2007, from the University of Colorado Boulder, a team of River NOAA geomagnetists landing a plane on the beach, trying to determine the North Pole. But in 2018, the starting point crosses the international date line into the Eastern Hemisphere. He is currently on his way to Siberia. Geomagnetist at the University of Leeds, Phil Livermore says, the position of 60, it appears to be influenced by two large magnetic fields. One is located under Canada, one under Siberia. The Siberian magnetic field is gaining the upper hand. What does it have to do with Edgar Cayce's prophecy? In his interpretation of 37816, Cayce talks about the upcoming test, strange, and the shift of the Earth's poles that is about to begin. Remember that geomagnetists are currently reporting. Female, the sexual Arctic movement began in the mid-1990s. Those are the words of Edgar Cayce. From the current timeline, since 58, ends with polar shift and sway. 98 years of change. Cayce also said, at that time, north and south enter, or a new cycle begins. Cayce interprets 826 to 8 later. Cayce was asked this question, 2000 to 2001. What will happen to the Earth? Or what started to change? Cayce replied, despise the North and South Poles, or a new kind of 7 begins. Cayce interpretation 8000 to 168 in interpretation 397615. Edgar Cayce also said that the North and South Poles will change, so there is cold, or tropical places become more tropical. Brassica and extinct plants will grow. These will begin in those periods of 58 to 98. Then the light of the Lord will be seen in the clouds. As for time, season, places are given to those who call them by their names, or to those who answer its call. And the revived people, they will get information. In the above 3 interpretations, the transfer of Cathy's imperial gift to the polar regions began in 40 years, late testing period 5898. Finally, there were actual results in 2000 and 2001, and a clear shift in reading 397615. Scientists studying polar magnetism have discovered, in the past 70 million years, the Earth's magnetic field has suddenly reversed more than 100 times. This shows that the stimulus changes every 700,000 years on average. However, scientists are unsure about this. Some people found evidence that the stimulus reverses every 100,000 years. Other scientists have also discovered that changes every 50,000 years. From Boston, Nova announced for GH's PBS TV show, The Thorns of Our Planet, new discoveries in excitation and magnetic fields. The show is called The Storm, edited by Earth story author David Newton. Write and produce. In this no end, the scientists explain that 2,000 miles beneath our feet is the melting of the Earth. The core is here. Huge oceans of liquid iron. An invisible force is generated, and the Earth's magnetic field. This is our compass. The reason for pointing north, but he does have more to do, helping to keep the Earth alive. Living planet. Our neighbor, Venus and Mars have weak magnetic fields. This means they cannot receive, deadly across the solar system, radiation protection, and the Earth exists in a giant female base. This is a story that has taken place over billions of years. Shelter our position during the space journey. Not only is the stimulus moving, he also drifts in unpredictable ways. For example, in 2016, Northern South America, and stirring solutions in the Southern Eastern Pacific. The European space agencies. Swan satellite tracked the event. For no apparent reason. Cayce has shown in many interpretations that the God who inhabits this planet, death is us. Perhaps many people have forgotten. The attitude of remembering one's identity and emotions can affect the vibrations of the Earth. Perhaps you have a deep understanding of what is happening in our world and the frustration that people divide into different groups. Mother Earth is equally upset. The problem is that when he moves, he will change our world. Remember Lemuria and Atlantis? In the interpretation of 5,757 morals, Edgar Cayce will make a huge explosion on the sun. The sun is black. Retreat to the attitudes and emotions of people on earth. We need peace and harmony. Unite the children of God. How to do it? In fact, people have known this secret since ancient times. Edgar Cayce restated this approach. Can stop and do prevent an entire civilization from falling into upheaval. Those who have the ideal of the King of Peace within themselves. According to the ancient books of the world, the common prayer of man can save a city. The 25-year-old's heartfelt prayer can save a country. As long as people's prayers and words and deeds are the same, more powerful in unity, if sincerity has this purpose. We are the guardians of our brothers. Cayce's interpretation of 15,982 incidentally says a little bit. Feng Feng once wrote in his article, pretty sure of Edgar Cayce's visions and prophecies, and endorsed Cayce's generosity and achievements, far greater than himself. Personal opinion, cone for sewing, based on the degree of freedom with which it works, higher than Edgar Cayce. These are his modest words. Just Feng Feng. A layman never abuses his power in his life, for those who need help with illness and suffering. And Cayce was in a peak state of transitioning consciousness. Interpret yourself why. We'll wake up. I don't remember what I saw at all. The content of the oral statement, because he was in ancient Atlantis. As a high priest. Abuse of the knowledge they have gained. Therefore, this life is from the underworld. Underworld, due to the legal punishment of higher cosmic deeds. Edgar Cayce, The Prophecy of Global Geographic Change and Interpretation. Cayce's interpretation points out that changes in material events should be regarded as signs or signals. The American West will be fractured. Most of Japan must be submerged into the sea. The upper part of Europe changes in the blink of an eye. Land will rise on the east coast of the United States. Changes in the Antarctic and Arctic circles will result in volcanic eruptions in the Chariot region. The Earth's axis rotates. We're going to sort out Cayce's interpretation next. Prophecies of global geographic change. West coast of the United States and the southeast coast will be swallowed up by the sea. Within 90 days of the volcano's eruption, please. Powerful earthquake will make. Parts of Salt Lake City are submerged. Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York were destroyed one after another. New York will be built to the west of its original location. The time is before 2158 AD. Lake Wuta will be diverted to the Gulf of Mexico. The geography of Europe will change very rapidly. The axis of the Earth will shift as we see it in the early 21st century. Climate change is obvious. Cold zone warming. Japan plunges into the sea. Increased volcanic activity near the equator. World food shortage. Middle America, Argentina, and parts of Africa have become the world's breadbasket. Washington has always been the center of world power. The changes in those illusions from the material point of view, no effect on the soul. Just do your job today. There will be tomorrow. Interpretation says the adjustment period is in one lesson. Multi-class and half-class start after the end of the class. Justice will always be on Earth. The sign is slowly changing. When this change reaches a significant level, this can be calculated from the pyramid. Humans are about to begin a racial transformation. There will be people from Atlantis. Lemuria, the immense influence of the old demon or the soul of a great civilization. Edgar Cayce says, the technological revolution that began in the last century is a large number from prehistoric civilizations, a masterpiece of soul reincarnation. Geographic adjustment is a form of washing. New species of humans, fifth human. That 50 Rotris is being born.